Welcome back to the card pool. You're swimming with Stu.
And I'm Kyle.
And today we are doing a hidden gem review. We're looking at the set of Prophecy this time, and we're going to be taking a look at the 10 cards that we're allowed to pick from. We're not allowed to choose the top 10 money cards from this set. From the allotted sum, we have our own individual 10 lists.
Indeed, and Prophecy is kind of an interesting set because after the fact, I was doing some research, as I do a lot of the times when we talk about these sets, but remember Mercadian Masks that we reviewed like way back?
That was like the first one.
That was kind of considered like one of, if not the like weakest of all Magic the Gathering sets.
Yeah.
This one is a close second. Prophecy is considered pretty bad as well.
I've heard some unhappy tales about this, but regardless, we still found some cards to talk about.
We did.
It was a little bit of a struggle.
It was a struggle for me too. Well, let's just get on with it.
But yeah, so we're going to be talking from 10 to 6, and then our following episode will be the top 5 that we found a piece.
All right.
So be gentle with us if these cards don't seem like the best. But for my number 10 card, I'm going to be looking at a card called Forgotten Harvest. Now this is a 2-drop enchantment that costs 1 generic and a green, and it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may remove a land card in your graveyard from the game. And if you do so, go ahead and put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So pretty much you're exiling a card, a land, in your grave on your upkeep. So you don't get any value out of this the turn that you initially play it. However, you can get some continual value as this goes on and progresses. And the reason why I do like this whole counter train going is because with counter-based decks, it takes one board wipe or a little bit of spot removal to go ahead and take away all that value you've gone ahead and created. So being able to have some sort of slow accruing to that is good. It's small incremental value where you can go ahead and start using things that involve counters or proliferating and stuff like that.
I agree. This is actually surprisingly like not actually a terrible card. This is interesting. Like the idea being that I guess you could use this in a deck that somehow likes to use the graveyard, but also likes the +1/+1 counters, something like Gyrus or Varel's the Scar Stripe, and maybe like mill themselves and put lots of cards into the graveyard. I mean, yeah, this seems like a potentially viable card in a deck like that.
It's low cost and you can play this out early. Like, sure, if you don't have a monster, if you don't have a land in the grave, you won't get anything, but that's fine. This isn't an initial threat on the field. And also, you can use this in like an agave deck or Gave, where it's like he does care about getting counters put on him. So this is something where you can go ahead, where you want to go ahead and fill up the grave and stuff like that. And not the most incredible card I've ever seen, but it's definitely not a horrible card.
Yeah, so let's go on to something else that is, you know, not horrible.
So at number
we'll go to
10.
Yeah, number 10 here on my list is going to be actually a commander option. Alexi, Sefar Mage. Now this is a 5-drop legendary spell shaper creature. Yeah, Sefar Mage. So 3/3, and her ability is tap X of any color and 1 blue, tap her, discard 2 cards from your hand, return X target creatures to their owner's hand. So honestly, out of any of the legends in the set, this one's probably the best one, and that's not saying a whole lot.
Oh no, I have chosen a different legend, which I believe is to be way better.
Well, we'll see that, I guess, at some later point.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of tap abilities on commanders, but this one can be pretty powerful if you put enough mana into it. Like, a continuous Cyclonic Rift really isn't bad. And this isn't anywhere close to being as good as Cyclonic Rift, but it's comparable, so that's saying something, right?
It's a decent tech card if you like going ahead and filling stuff in the grave. But the one thing I do like to note about this, like you were saying with the mana sink, typically these 1-for-1 effects, it's usually discard a card and target creature will go away or something like that. Usually you find a little bit more with discard. But like you only have to have 2 cards, and then you go ahead and it's whatever the mana is. It's not as like the amount of cards in your hand, because losing just like your entire hand to put 5 creatures back in their hand to then have them cast it again, that feels bad. It feels like you absolutely did nothing on the field at that time.
Right. So the more mana you can put into this, the better. Because discarding 2 cards is sort of a high cost. I mean, it's like the whole point of the spell shapers was, you know, you get a spell-like effect by discarding a card from your hand, so it's like playing the spell. But in this case, you're losing 2 cards, so you kind of want something more out of it, you know?
It's not the worst in that regard, but I do believe, like I said, there are better ones out there. So
we'll see. We'll see.
And also, this can be used on your creatures as well. So if you are going for a little bit of an ETB route, you can go ahead and use that. Like Brago actually cares about blinking stuff in and out. So if you can't play Brago, some of this other stuff's going on. This is a slower route to do that. So this could be a better card as the 99 versus the commander, but there might be some cool tricks you can pull off with this, so who knows. Number 9.
All right.
My number 9 is a card called Mirror Strike. Now this is a 4-drop instant that costs 3 generic and a white, and it reads target unblocked creature deals combat damage to its controller instead of you this turn. So what's cool about this is like a deflecting palm in mono white, and it can be something better than like one of those save you from losing the game cards like what is it, Angel's Grace. Because you can go ahead and make it so instead of you not having to worry about losing, you've also turned the table on them so that they can go ahead and lose. This works with stuff with like Infect, turning a Blightsteel onto somebody else. And this,
you stole my talking point, dude.
I did? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I'm just waiting for the time when this or something like it hilariously reflects 11 Infect damage back at somebody.
That would be great. But also, it doesn't have to be attacking you. It's just an attack, which is really useful for this because you can go ahead and make some political plays saying like, hey, I can make it so you're still in the game. I can hurt them. You owe me a favor. I'm not messing with you. You stay out of my way kind of thing. Like, you can go ahead and take a little bit of a board presence with this. Now, this is a one-shot effect, but this could be like one of those Alamo cards. You're kind of holding yourself back as best you can to hold the gates. This way you're not losing. This could be an anti-lose card in some circles.
It's also not without precedent because there are a bunch of older, usually white cards that are like redirect damage to things. Like if there's going to be some damage dealt to you, make it go to this creature. Or if it's going to go to this creature, make it go to somebody else. You know, something like that.
But there's not much to make it go back to the controller, which is actually unique in that regard.
And it's usually a red thing. You don't really see that kind of effect in white anymore.
No, I mean, it'd be decent in Boros.
Yeah, might
but
be.
Again, you would be using deflecting bomb at that point, though.
Yeah.
But again, something just to kind of take note of, a budget version for going ahead and make it so you have, well, a safety line in the game. Now, you're number 9, Kyle. You're German no. What do you got coming at us?
Well, I've got another blue card here, also for 5 mana. This is an enchantment called Heightened Awareness. So when this card comes into play, discard your hand, and then at the beginning of your draw step, draw a card. So essentially, it's a trade-off here. You're paying 5 mana to lose your hand when this comes into play, but then you are accumulating more card advantage by drawing 2 cards per turn instead of 1. So it's like a weird version of a Howling Mine that's just for you.
It is,
I guess.
An enchantment-based one that doesn't care too much about helping the players. Now, you are in blue, so there are a little bit better versions of drawing.
There probably are, honestly.
There's a lot better versions of drawing where it doesn't make you lose your whole hand. However, sometimes losing your hand is not a bad thing.
And also the trade-off a lot of the time is that blue likes to universally give people card draw. This only works for you.
Yeah.
So it is notable in that respect too, I guess.
There is the one artifact out there, I think it's not Felwarstone, what is it? Where it's like you pay 3 mana, you draw 3 cards.
Lore Seeker's Stone.
Lore Seeker's Stone, but like each card in your hand goes ahead and makes it so like you can pay an extra amount. That little combo, I don't think it's worth enough to put this one in there. However, it is, you know, something that might work in certain niche decks.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. This is just an interesting one that I thought might be worth mentioning.
So, number 8 is a card that pretty much it sums into us finding cards for the set. It's called Searching for Survivors. Now, this is a 3-drop sorcery that costs 2 generic and a red, and it reads Shuffle your graveyard. An opponent chooses a card from it at random. If that card is a creature card, put it into play. Otherwise, remove it from the game. Now, this is red chaos as close as it gets. But there's not much that makes it so you get like a kind of inverse chaos warp on yourself. And the only thing that you'd be losing is potentially whatever's there. So if you use a lot of big stompy red stuff like dragons or giants or something along that meld where it's like if you throw green in there, you got big other creatures as well. It doesn't care what the color is. It doesn't care what the type of creature is. It just cares that it is a creature. And you could potentially cheat something big into play.
Yeah, this is potentially like black caliber recursion in red, which is crazy enough to make me want to maybe think about this. However, I mean, like, I've never liked cards that rely on chance, so I don't know how good this actually is. It probably isn't at all, but like, hey,
if you're very creature toolboxy, this would be fine. Sure, it might whiff on a land or something else like that, but for 3 mana, potentially getting some huge dragon into play for free, you know, that doesn't sound too bad, actually. So, is this a bad card? I'd say no.
I don't know.
Is it a high risk card? Sure. And also, like, you can go ahead and once the creature goes ahead and dies, like, you can go ahead and jump through hoops and make it so it can come on back again. Like, you got like Feldin decks where it's like, all right, I'll bring something big out and this will work with my commander later and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, not bad.
all right. Well, number 8, Kyle, what do you got flowing?
All right, well, number 8 for me is going to be called Calming Verse. Now, this is a sorcery. It costs 4 to play, and it's a green card this time. Destroy all enchantments you don't control. Then, if you control an untapped land, destroy all enchantments you control. So again, is this the greatest card ever in the history of the game? Definitely not. However, I always consider one-sided board wipes, no matter what they are or how they do it. This is a little bit narrow because enchantments are probably like one of the least played card types
As
that there
of
is.
now, we've been seeing a lot more that want to be played
Right.
and stuff like that.
So this is a bit narrow in its use. If it was destroy all like artifacts and enchantments, then I'd be like, yeah.
Like a Fracturing Gust or something.
Yeah, but as it is, it's not too hard to meet its conditions because all you have to do is have, no untapped lands just to hurt everybody else. However, it's usually worth noting because these effects are usually global. On the other hand, though, no untapped lands, unless you're an actual green deck that doesn't do anything on other people's turns, that's kind of bad.
Well, not exactly. Like, the thing is with this is since Mana Burn is out of the game, and I'm pretty sure it was in the game at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, the whole thing of like, all right, I got to tap out to destroy all your stuff and not mine. It's going to hurt me extra 4 life maybe or something like that, which, back in the day is like a ghastly amount. But in the realm of Commander, that's not a big deal. So you could actually play this and take the damage, and it probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Also, or not damage, you can play this and lose some permanents, and that might not be the worst thing in the world. But being one-sided is the part that really makes this stand out, like you've been saying, and being able to go ahead and get around that is nice.
Yeah, so it's an interesting card. Maybe worth considering if you're looking for budget options of things, but yeah.
Well, and also we do see Enchantress decks, and sometimes they have to worry about killing enchantments. So they don't want global stuff for that on their own things, so this would be something that could fit into that, which, again, there are niche decks that kind of would need something like this. And this is a great budget option for them.
Well, let's go on to some more, budget options.
Hey, no, I like some of the ones I found, actually. So at my number 7, another card is called Latula's Orders.
Latula's Orders?
Latula's Orders?
Yeah, I guess.
This is a 2-drop aura in red that is a 1 generic and a red mana, and it reads, when you play, you can play this anytime you can play an instant, which is usually pretty good to have, and whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to defending player, you may have it destroy target artifact that player controls. So, what's so good about this? This is a way to go ahead and get instant spot removal of people's problem permanents, and you don't even have to have it on a creature that you own, which is the greatest thing. So, like, let's say Kyle is going ahead and he's attacking, I don't know, imaginary friend A. Or B. You have so many imaginary friends.
So many.
So many. So he's going ahead and he's attacking imaginary friend A. Well, imaginary friend A has got some sort of problem artifact out there. So he's going to go ahead and attack. I'll go ahead and equip this on, enchant his creature, and then go ahead and I control what artifacts get destroyed. So then I will choose what artifact that player controls that I want to get rid of. It's a political card that's very unique in the way it's like how it's worded, because you get only advantages on this. Now, typically if it was on a creature that you have, well, you have to worry about the creature dying and stuff like that. But if that creature that they control dies, it only helped you. It's almost like it's like putting kick me on the back of that creature, and now people have to worry about it while you sit back and get the rewards, provided that they control artifacts.
Yeah, this isn't too bad for a deck that's in red that likes auras. I know there aren't too many of them, but there actually have been some more tools in that regard in the past couple of years. Valduk, Keeper of the Flame, makes a pretty good auras and equipments mono red deck. Yeah. And then there's also ones like, I forget what the card is, but from Theros Beyond Death even was expanding upon auras in red.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are some decks that might enjoy a card like this. The thing that really makes it like worth considering, in my opinion, is the whole flash deal.
Yes.
Because a haymaker that people can see coming is easy to stop. But the fact that you can then throw this onto any creature that they don't remember to block is pretty solid.
And again, like there's so many ways. Like there's tons of decks that care about going ahead and getting damage through. Like we see Tetsuku decks where like they have a whole bunch of like unblockable creatures out there.
Yeah.
So for this thing to go ahead and hit isn't crazy. And like also, now again, I'm not sure what the exact rulings are. You can maybe put this on someone after the blocker hasn't been like they've declared no blockers.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So you can go ahead and get around that then, which would be awesome.
Right.
And then now you have a creature that's kind of on your side.
Yeah, well, and then you may think, oh, well, I could just pay, 2 mana for a sorcery that kills artifacts. Well, that is true, but this can potentially do it more than once.
And
that's the argument for it.
Also, if we pull up the card real fast one more time, you can see on there that it says May. This is a May effect, so if they do turn this card at you, you don't lose any artifacts. You don't have to choose one of your own to lose.
Which is nice. A lot of these old cards didn't give you that option.
No, it was always a must. So is this a pretty solid budget tech? Yeah.
Might be, yeah.
I don't know which commander would specifically want this one, but if we ever get one that cares about auras in red, a Boros one or whatever, this could be a huge powerhouse.
Yeah, Valdek's pretty much the only one that I can think of for now, but yeah, if only we got like a Boros Auras commander, that'd be really
There's
cool.
so many powerful red R's. Brandeville Omen is one like nobody knows about. And like you equip it onto a creature, that creature's controller can't cast creature spells as long as that creature's out.
I think you'll have to look back in one of our older videos for that one. We did talk about it before.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll put a little blip up there for that one if you're interested in some other sets as well. But moving on to your 7, Kyle, what do you got?
All right, well, for mine here, we are looking at Thrive. Now, this is a green sorcery. It costs X and 1 green. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of X target creatures. Very simple effect. Pretty, standard middle-of-the-road type of card. Are there better versions of this that have been made over time? Absolutely there are.
Is middle of the road good or bad? Because if I'm standing in the middle of the road, that doesn't sound good.
Well, that may be true. But I mean, pretty, so-so. It's pretty solid, though, to give your entire army a permanent boost, and also, because lots more cards care about counters these days, trigger some abilities. Heck, you even have something like a Walking Constrictor, and suddenly that's 2 counters on every creature for the price of 1.
The new Selesnya one that we've seen in...
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
from the...
M21,
Yeah. So, really, honestly, this is... I mean, is it a great card? No. Is it okay? Sure.
It's okay. The problem is... There's 2 problems with this card. One is that it's at sorcery speed, which is a televised punch.
Yeah.
The second one is also... each creature can only get up to 1 counter
Right,
from
which is
this.
kind of frustrating.
So, like, if you were to go ahead and, like, want to put, like, 5 counters on 1 creature to be a little bit more Voltron-y, you're prohibited,
that,
which is kind of the main bummer. If that got changed around a little bit, this card would definitely be a lot more valuable. And, I mean, it might not be too hard to change this with an Oracle text or something.
Yeah. Well, I doubt that's ever going to happen, but still,
you never
again,
rule
budget
it
option.
out. So, moving on to my number 6. And this will be a last card for mine for this video. It's a card called Ristic Deluge. Not Ristic Study. I know everyone's ears perked up real fast. I did not choose that. It is a money card. Now, this is an enchantment that costs 3 mana, 2 generic, and an island. And it reads, for just going ahead and tapping an island, you can tap target creature unless its controller pays 1 generic. So, this is a great mana sink to pretty much keep a player's creatures at bay. So pretty much as much mana as you have open, they need to keep open if they want to go ahead and attack or use some sort of tap effect to go ahead and abuse whatever. This, I'd say, is not bad because blue always likes leaving mana open for counter spells or any kind of shenanigans to mess with the stack or whatever you're playing or anything else like this. Now this is something that just goes ahead and helps with that. At the end of their turn, all right, if it's going to go to you, tap out your mana, tap down the board, see what happens, and let it roll through. It's good for political plays. It's a good safety card, and being low costed, I'd say it's pretty solid. I mean, I would even want to see this in maybe a Zur Enchantress deck because it's 3 mana, you can bring it out, and you don't typically use a lot of mana for stuff except for just maybe counter spells.
Well, I can tell you are very excited about this card. I'm like somewhat less excited, but still, this is all right. Like, for a card that is not called Ristic Study, but has Ristic in its name, this is actually not terrible, and I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Because all the other Ristic cards, literally all of them are awful.
Well, Ristic Tutor...
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
Ristic Tutor...
Okay, so like I was saying, we'll talk about that later. But I do like this card because It's kind of like Crystal Shard too, because Crystal Shard has a similar ability.
I'd say better
that
than Crystal
you can
Shard.
bounce a creature back to somebody's hand unless they pay 1. But that's a tap ability. That can only be used 1 time a turn. This is
Exactly.
different. You could do it as many times as you want. And the fact that it does it's not just 1-time taxing. You can use it over and over again until your opponents can't pay for it anymore. So if you have enough mana and they don't, you eventually all you have to do is pay enough to make their creature go away. So, like I said, this is not an amazing card, but it's not terrible either. This is actually not bad.
And the good thing about it also with political plays, someone goes to attack, they have a big scary creature, and they need some sort of effect to hit to draw cards or get an effect off. Tap it down, make some sort of alliance. And I mean, just for having a little bit of mana, sometimes players have to tap out to do something. I need a board wipe. I have to tap out.
Exactly.
I have to do this.
Yeah, and these
I
kind
have
of
to tap
cards
out.
make them really conscious of tapping out to do things.
Yeah, and that alone makes it so that they're going to hold back on what they play. And just the psychology of the game is going to change. And for 3 mana, I think this card is severely overlooked and should definitely be taken note of.
Yeah, it's certainly not bad. I got another one next that's actually kind of
No,
a
you
similar
don't. We're
vein
just going to
to
end it right there. Go for it. What do you got?
It's actually pretty similar. Number 6 here on my list is another blue card. Like I said, pretty similar to this last one. Spiketail Hatchling. So this is a 2 mana 1/1 with flying, and it's a Drake. We see some of these guys very often. They're like, the budget dragons. So
he's also a singer.
Yeah, well, that too. Well, you sacrifice Spiketail Hatchling and counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. So once again, you're potentially doing something, or you're alternatively taxing somebody for it. So walking counterspells on a creature's body are pretty good regardless of how powerful they are, especially when they have flying like this one does, and it can be attacking pretty much without consequence for the entire game. Is it strong and flashy? Probably not, but that 1 mana can sometimes make a huge difference in the game.
Yeah, this is all right. So there's a couple points I really do like about this. So one, it's a televised counterspell, which is actually almost more intimidating than an untelevised one, because players constantly are like, all right, is this the one that you're going to try to stop? Is this the one? And they have to try to force you to do it. It's like, I'm playing this spell. It's pretty enticing. Are you going to destroy it? And usually like, nah, I know you got something else. You have 8 mana left open.
Right.
Like, crap. This doesn't tap to use the effect. It costs no mana to use the effect, and it's just a sack outlet. This can go into many separate decks where it's like they like having flyers, they like having low CMC, they like having low bodies. This can go in a lot of different places, and it's not a horrible card. And actually, if I were to draft, this would be a card I'd be keen on picking up in a draft.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, part of the reason that I picked this card, too, is I have a little bit of an attachment to this. It was actually one of the first Magic cards I ever owned. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was what made me, seeing how cool this was, made me realize, yeah, I'm a blue player. I like this. I want to play this more.
And you know what? Actually, on that note, if you made it this far in the video so far, let us know what the first memorable card is that you either opened or imprinted on you. Just put it in the comments down below, because everyone has the one card where it's like, oh, yeah, first rare ever pulled, first card that ever killed me, first card I ever. Everyone has the one that they just remember, and it's not even the most incredible card usually. But yeah, this is a great card, Kyle. Is it strong? Is it flashy? I'd say almost yes. I'd say almost yes in that one. But that is the last card on the count of our part 1 video. Our part 2 will come out the following week. So if you're excited about that, you should be, because it's going to be coming right back at you.
Indeed. And of course, you can, in the meantime, follow us on all kinds of our social media channels here. We're on Reddit. We have our own subreddit. We post on other ones frequently. We have a Tapped Out page where we have all of our cool deck lists. Check them out there. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us all at the handle The Card Pool.
So even if you're not sure if we're on that social media, type it in. You might find us, whether it's podcast or anything else. And also, we have our own affiliate link with TCG Player.
Indeed.
So if you go ahead and you buy any of these cards we selected or any other ones in your cart, make sure you click on the link down below before you go ahead and you purchase out. It lets them know that, hey, you like what we do. They should also like what we do. And it helps the channel, which is awesome. So thank you if you do that.
Yeah, we always appreciate that.
But until then, I'm not Kyle. I'm Stu.
And I am Kyle.
And we'll see you next time at the Card Pool. Think anyone's ever going to confuse us by accident?
No, I really don't think so.
We look kind of similar.
Yeah, it's like brothers.
No.
Right.